say turn on the mics?
Yeah. Hello? All right, Steve, I'm not going to talk about you now.
You can say good things.
That's true.
I know it's hard.
Ready?
You know.
I was kind of hoping we could get through this quick tonight, but
I don't know.
you never know. When you think it, yeah, no. When you think it, no, yeah.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. This will be our August 3rd Town Council meeting. We'll have a roll call, please. Present? Here. Here.
Present.
Here. All right. If we could all stay in, we're going to have a short moment of silence. We have one of our council members, Pam Swinford. Her husband was in a tragic accident, and he's still down in the Norfolk area. And so we're going to take a moment of silence, then we'll lead into an invocation. So if we could all bow our heads for a moment. Okay, thank you. Kurt Woods will lead us in our invocation for this evening.
Father, we come before you and we present to you our requests. We present to you our worries and our thoughts. We present to you this evening's agenda and the things that we want to accomplish. And we ask that you would give us wisdom to accomplish things in a way that is good for the citizens and in a way that is good for the community. Father, we ask that you would give us wisdom to make good choices, to handle finances well, to handle the gifts that we have been given well. Father, we remember the Swinford family, and we pray for Phil as he recovers. We do ask for his speedy recovery, that he would regain just a full, good quality of life. We know that you are the healer, and you are able to do that. And we just want to offer to you ourselves, our service this evening, and pray that it would be blessed. In your strong name, amen.
And if we continue standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it's nice to see a full house here. And what I'd like to do is open up what we call citizens' time. And this is the opportunity for our citizens to come up to the podium. If they could just state their name and be able to let us know what's on their mind, and we will listen to your thoughts there. So, yeah.
Good, thank you. Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jim Kraut. I represent the Haymarket Masonic Charitable Foundation, affiliated with the Masonic Lodge across the street, and I am here to ask for your consideration of a temporary occupancy permit for our building behind the lodge. If I could take a few minutes just to give you a background if you're not familiar. We have that building back there, and we need to move forward with construction to make it a commercial property. And we have followed the necessary civil site process as required by you folks, and we are just awaiting that from the Planning Commission. And in the interim, the potential leasee who is sitting over there would like to get a temporary permit before Haymarket days. And he has invested a considerable amount of money in preparation to move into this building when it's blessed. And he would like to participate in Haymarket days at that site for several reasons, obviously. Let the citizens know he's there, and has quite a few plans for that occasion, if possible. And I would certainly like to beg upon you to give us the temporary permit.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing, sir?
I'm all right. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and council members, my name is Jonathan Buckfield. I teach PE. I'm the athletic director and the archery coach at Reagan Middle School up here in Haymarket. Thanks for inviting me to speak. It's my honor to present to you the 2015 NAS 5EO 3D World Champion Archery team from Reagan Middle School here in Haymarket. They're scattered throughout the back here.
I think we should give a good applause for that.
I appreciate you taking the time to recognize some of the kids. It's well-deserved, obviously. Being world champions is a big deal. What people don't realize is we're the new kids on the block in the archery world. We're only in our third year of existence. Reagan's only been around that long. Many of the top teams in the nation and the world have been around for 10-plus years. In our 3 years, we've competed in 3 state tournaments, 1 tournament in Maryland, 2 national tournaments, and 2 world tournaments, and numerous local tournaments. We've always finished second in the state tournament to the same team. We went to a tournament in Maryland this year and swept every award they had, individual and team-wise. In nationals, we've improved from 66 in the Bullseye tournament to 17th and 17th in 3D to now 13th in Bullseye and 13th in 3D. And in the world tournaments, we went from 16th the first year and 6th in Bullseye, from 16th to 6th in Bullseye. And we are now the first time ever world champions in the 3D tournament. And if you don't know 3D is when you shoot at the fake animals, the life-size fake animals, not lions named Cecil or anything like that.
Wow.
In the short amount of time, our kids have become elite archers. 3 years ago, many of them came to me with never touching a bow and arrow. That number's gotten smaller through elementary schools picking up archery and summer camps that I run at Reagan. We teach a lot more than archery at Reagan or in our program. I try to teach the kids that when we travel, we represent their families, their school, and the town of Haymarket, which is printed on the back of all of our T-shirts with an arrow pointing right at Haymarket. We have participated in events in the community like Earth Day and Haymarket Day. We often can be found at Foster's Grill. It's a favorite of mine. We hope to continue to participate in the events here in town and maybe even do shooting demonstrations at the events if it all works out. If we could even find the right location, we'd love to open up an archery facility in the area to where we could practice whenever we wanted instead of having to work around all the other sports teams. They tend to take precedence over us at school. Our team motto this year has been the diligence to prosper. These kids have put in the work, and now they've been rewarded. They're at school more than a lot of the teachers are. We start shooting as soon as we get back in school, and we shoot all the way through the summer. And by being recognized here tonight, that just adds to the reward. We have one last tournament coming up this next weekend in Ellicottville, New York. The IBO, or the International Bowhunters Organization, is holding their World Outdoor Tournament, and we will be participating in a small part of that. We hope to report back to you with our successes there, but thank you for your time and letting us be recognized here tonight.
No, absolutely, absolutely. What an accomplishment. Anybody would like to have some more questions, or do we have other speakers to? Oh, okay.
I just thought I needed to come
Yeah.
up.
No, that's wonderful.
But thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah. As we can see, like our tagline, Haymarket's everyone's hometown. This is great. I'm truly think it's an honor to look out here and to think that how hard you all had to work to accomplish what you've done so far. And it sounds like you have one more competition, which is great. I did read in a little packet here that someone had to shave all their hair because because of a bet that you made. I think that's great. It sounds like you got it.
I thought he was just trying to look like me.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you're all going to stick around for a while.
Yeah. So my understanding, I mean, to pull off events like this, obviously your sponsorships, your monies come from how? I mean, obviously.
We've gathered money from local businesses, held fundraisers at Foster's, and in different places. A lot of our families have been very generous and have companies that have donated money. Other townships or cities have sponsored teams from other areas in the state to go to different events. It wasn't necessarily my point to do that. We're always open to money from
Right.
anywhere.
No,
And if you guys are willing to do that, we would gladly accept it because, you know, the school pays for so much and our club pays for all our event fees. But at the same time, we travel to Louisville, Kentucky for nationals. Last year we went to Madison, Wisconsin for Worlds. This year we went to Nashville for Worlds. So there's quite a bit of travel expense involved, and every bit helps. You know, the school budgets are tight. I'm not necessarily from Haymarket, so I don't know what your budgets are like. But yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily come here to ask
No, I
for money,
understand.
but
Right.
I know other organizations have received money from the town, and we'd gladly accept anything that you might be able to offer.
Right, absolutely.
We go through targets quite a bit. I mean, it's part of being good. I replace the cores of targets about every month, and it takes about $15 per core. I'm glad it's just the cores and not the entire targets, but when you shoot a lot of bullseyes, you wear out the yellows pretty quick. So,
Right.
But we go through quite a bit of arrows and quite a bit of targets pretty regularly.
And for example, this trip coming up, I'm sure, how many,
Well, a lot of our kids are going on vacation. They don't have very much vacation because we practice all year. We have about half the team going to New York.
Wow.
You know, and it was kind of a last-minute trip because they didn't publicize the trip very well. So, you know, we're scrambling, and we found hotels here and there, and, you know, we'll meet up and shoot and travel back down.
Right, well, that's great, okay. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd like, I'd like to be able to add this maybe to the agenda for discussion. Say maybe under six, well, we'd be at G, but I'd like to put it at, move from 6B and put it, instead of Dominion Power, to put the archery. So if we can add that, so it would be right up front there. Okay. Citizens' time. Any other citizens who'd like to speak? That would be the time. All right. We'll move on to our consent agenda, which would be, I believe there's.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move 5C into an agenda item.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So if there's no objection with that, we'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda item, less item C, the salary adjustment proposal. Okay.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda except for item C, which will be moved to the number 6 agenda items.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. And now I'll entertain for a motion to accept the consent.
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Cottle? Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Great, okay. Our next item on our agenda would be initiate our ZTA. Marchant, you have and we're on page 42 of our packet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The folks are anxiously awaiting the rebuild of the sheets, and this is kind of the first of the applications to make that happen. They've asked for several text amendments to the ordinance to accommodate a sign program they wish to develop as part of the rebuild, and also provide clarity in terms of the definitions of what service retail uses. So this is simply accepting their request to change the ordinance and send it through the process. This doesn't mean your support or non-support. It simply gets the ball rolling, and this will come back to you for public hearing once it's gone through the Planning Commission. So I've attached a resolution for you to adopt starting that process, And there is a draft motion in the item for you to move as you choose, as you so choose.
Okay. So we're on page 42 with the draft motions.
Well, I'll move, Mr. Mayor, if I may. I'll move that the town council adopt the attached resolution of intent to amend Chapter 58 zoning of the Haymarket Town Code.
We have a motion on the floor,
Second.
seconded by Vice Mayor. Discussion?
Yes, Marchand, are there any items of interest or any concerns you have in the text amendments?
No, sir, other than we are evaluating the sign ordinance, and they're asking for alternate sign standard just for service stations. Chief wants to move ahead quicker than the sign ordinance amendments that we're currently reviewing. So that's the only thing that may give people pause, saying, well, why are we revisiting the standards for a service station if we're revamping the zoning ordinance? What I expect will happen is we'll adopt whatever standard becomes part of the sheets with our subsequent amendments to the sign ordinance later on.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? We can have a roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving along, our added item here is, we call it Ronald Reagan Middle School Archery. Obviously, I think when you reach this level of competition and for these young ladies and young men, I think in the past we have looked at a similar presentation from Bull Run Robotics. It was in 2014 that they did a presentation, and we, the town, helped sponsor, gave them monetary monies to go to that cause. So I'll bring it around to our council. Vice Mayor.
In the past, everyone has come and requested something specific, had a presentation, that sort of thing. I would recommend that if this group so desires to be sponsored, that they do the same thing as before. Since they did not come today with a expectation of asking for anything, I wouldn't think that we should change our process for this purpose, but I think would be amenable to a presentation in the near future. And it doesn't necessarily have to wait till the next competitions next summer. I'm just saying that it's a little different than what we've done before.
Okay, and I'd like to basically not counter that, but in 2014, a similar presentation was made, and I know on this we had our team is parent-funded with some help from the school. However, we're looking for sponsors or donations to help with the supplies and lodging. So I would say that they do have a specific, maybe he wasn't his humble intent to looking for money, but I think in this that they are looking for to help them on this upcoming trip that's just 5 days away, and any amount that could help. That any other council would like to comment? Or
Well, yeah, sure. Mr. Mayor, if I may, well, 5 days is pretty short, but I want to wish you all good luck, and I know you'll do well. Make us proud. I like the Haymarket symbol. That's really great. My question for previous council members is, what did we do the last time? I don't remember what the figures were, but...
Sure. Actually, Sherry, do you have that you could read, or actually I can bring it up and read it real quick.
Well, while you're looking
sure.
the numbers up, you know, I'm a process kind of a guy too, and I kind of agree with Steve in that regard. You need to follow the policy or process, but I mean, there are other things that we can do perhaps. I don't know if we want to brainstorm here right now, but there's got to be ways that we can help these young men and women. Come on up. Mr. Chairman, may we recognize...
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Are there other things that we might be able
I
to
am
do?
absolutely a process guy, and we just won the championship a week and a half ago.
You didn't expect this, did you?
And just got told the other day, hey, we've been invited to the town hall meeting. So I would gladly come back with a presentation and a formal request. I understand even if you were to give us some kind of monetary donation, it really wouldn't turn around into being usable in 5 days. But we'll gladly come back with some kind of a pitch or something and we put all of our sponsors on we have different travel shirts that are bright and everybody sees, and the kids wear them all around town, and we would gladly add the town of Haymarket, town council, or however you guys want it on the back. You know, center frame if you want. I mean, we can add it, but I completely understand the process and would gladly go through that.
I appreciate that, too. Back on April 7th, a presentation was made. The young men here this evening are the robotics team for Bull Run Middle. They're here this evening to ask for the town's financial support to go to the World Championships in Anaheim. And it was moved to appropriate $1,000 from the town's administrator education training budget line item as a gift to the Bull Run robotics team for their trip. Discussion harness, why only $1,000? Tobias explains that we don't have a policy about gifts and donations and didn't want to open a box. Harness would really like to do $2,000, and the motion was that the mover was Mr. at the time, Tobias moved, Mr. Aiken seconded, and it was a unanimous consent for that evening's thing. So.
And I'd like to point out that we still don't have a policy or procedure for this.
Right.
We've neglected to follow around and create one.
Right. Okay.
I'll just throw one more thing out there. As you know, some of us don't take a stipend or any salary for our services, and I'm sure some of us would be more than happy to use those monies towards the team.
Okay. Mr. Cottle, any thoughts? So we go around the table here.
I totally support what you do. I know what school teachers do and how much time that you personally put in that you don't get any financial remuneration. So obviously you're investing in the lives of young people, which is commendable. I think it would be good to get some type of something in writing so we can really give you something of value. I'm all for helping young people, especially with what they're endeavoring to do. So I would be totally in support of receiving something that we could help. And I think it would be good if we came up with some policy. These are kind of unusual circumstances. Not every day you win a world championship.
Right.
So anyway, I totally support what you're doing. I would be in favor of doing something financially towards them.
Okay. All right. Mr. Woods, any?
The only thing I have to add is congratulations. Archery is a really fun sport. I was able to do it, not competitively, but as kind of a hobby and a learning tool, and it's a great sport. So congratulations.
Okay. All right, sir. So what we'll do is maybe put this on our next month agenda item if there's possible. And there again, it sounds like ways that we could support you is obviously right to as far as Battlefield High School, I understand that there is no program there that possibly, and maybe also have a recognition that we could actually formally present to you all at our next meeting.
And while we're brainstorming ideas,
Sure.
It's hard to get the public notice isn't out there as much.
Right.
You know, we've been trying to spread it on Facebook here and there. If you know any local media and would like them to fill up a newspaper, we would gladly provide an article or a picture. It's just, it really hasn't gotten out there like I thought it would. You know, it's not like a team that's trying to go to the World Championship. We won the World Championship. So
Right.
a lot of people are hesitant or being a little slow in getting it out there, but we'd love to get the word out there.
How about, do you ever think about doing your own press release?
We've written it and sent it out to, it just doesn't seem to land in the paper.
Okay. We'll see what we can do, maybe through our town website as well. We have a lot going on there, as well as contacts in the media.
That's fine.
And,
I'll gladly come back to the future.
Just one more thing. Just make sure you bring everybody with you next time again.
Yeah. And sincerely, we want to thank you all. You all did a phenomenal job there. You should definitely feel proud of what you're representing there. Yep.
Congratulations.
Yep, thank you.
Would you guys be offended if they left now?
No, absolutely.
A lot of us have archery camp in the
Yeah.
morning and lots of things.
No,
to do.
They
absolutely.
can go practice, so you can come back.
Or you can stop at Pickle Bob's.
Yeah, there you go. All right, thank you all. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Process.
Take a minute. Okay, we're going to move on to our next item here. The DBP, I think, got in here by accident. I think we spoke that at the work session. I'm not sure if there's anything to add for tonight's.
Actually, there is.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes.
Yes,
You
go
got
ahead.
it. You want me to do it?
No, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Okay, just as information, if we could get the message out, tomorrow afternoon was supposed to be a vote on the resolution that's been prepared by the county. I believe Chairman Stewart has pulled that resolution for the evening at 7:30, I think. I have to double-check the time, so that as many people who want to, it'll be available for them outside of traditional working hours, so they can make it if they'd like to speak out about the resolution and Dominion Power. So that's about all for now.
Okay, yep. And I think they meet at, is it 7 o'clock?
Is it 7 or 7:30? I don't know.
Yeah, okay, but it's definitely not on the afternoon agenda. It's been moved.
Yep, to the evening.
Okay. As well as our town properties, I think we're putting that over to the Facilities Committee. So I have nothing new to report on that. Our next item on the agenda is Mr. Ring's residency. Mr. Ring, I see you here, so if you could be so kind to come up to the podium here. Mr. Woods, do you have?
Yes, I do. Mr. Ring, good evening. Thanks for coming. You've received letters from the mayor outlining the council's concerns. As you know, members of the Planning Commission and the Architectural Review Board are required to be residents of the town. Our current understanding is that you have moved and no longer reside in the town. The council would like to give you an opportunity to present your position and any information you think would be relevant for the council to consider. So I'd like to hear from you.
Well, as to the letters that I've received, they're actually contradictory from the mayor. The first one said that I was no longer a resident because I had moved out. The next series of two, I believe, that said that I may be a resident of the town, so either the mayor or the town is confused as to exactly what residency can be. So there's no clarity there. The other issue is, I think more important, is that the town is withholding my pay for no known reason. I attended the meeting. My name was called for roll call by a town employee. Even though residency was brought up by a member of the ARB and a member of the Planning Commission, the members of the town council that were in the room, Pam Swinford, Joe Passanello, David Leake, made no comment. Absolutely none. So I've attended the meetings. The meetings were held. No one objected. I did the work. I performed the work. I don't have a paycheck. Initially, the paycheck was withheld, apparently, to the best of my ability to determine, solely at the discretion of the mayor. I'd like to know, I've read the town code. The mayor is mostly a political function, mostly shaking hands, kissing babies, that kind of thing. I'd like to know what section of the town code the mayor has the ability to withhold pay by. I'd also like to know if the council, and I did speak to Mr. Passanello that same day, or not the same day, I think it was Thursday. I was leaving, I was driving to my house, met you on the street, and Mr. Passanello said that he was not aware that my pay was being withheld. So the town seems to be aware that my pay is being withheld. Is the town now in agreement with the mayor that the pay should be withheld? And why, again, in the town code, or what in the town code, enables the town to withhold my pay? More than that, since we have nobody's speaking here yet, I'll continue on.
Well, actually, I'd like to ask a question, Mr. Mayor, if I may, or would you like to continue, Kurt?
Yeah, I'd like to continue. Mr. Ring, at this time, we're simply concerned with your residency and...
I'm concerned with my pay.
Okay, yes, we understand that. We are concerned with your residency and would just like to know if you have any information to the contrary of what we, what information we have.
I don't know what information you have. You've never spoken to me. No one in the council has spoken to me. So I don't know what information you may or may not possess. One of the things that you have steadfastly refused to do in any correspondence is define residency. I don't believe the town code defines residency. Are you arbitrarily assigning a meaning to that term? And it's an important term. And Steve, you should have some experience with this, and certainly, David, you have experience with this. When Pam Switchford ran the first time, she occupied a house in the town of Haymarket, but she was not a resident of the state of Virginia and could not be seated. That, and we had a discussion at the ARB at the time, was that going to impact any of the decisions that she had made while she wasn't a resident of the ARB? The decision was no. The town took no action whatsoever based on somebody being not a resident. So there's precedent here. The town has already determined that residency, by their action or inaction, is not really that important. So the thing that keeps coming up here, the word live, what you're reading from the code says residency. Are you indeed arbitrarily determining what residency is in that it's not defined in the town code? Are you just arbitrarily saying X because of that? What's the definition of residency? You guys spent an hour with your lawyer in executive session discussing this, and somehow you didn't resolve what residency is? I'm going to use my bottle of water.
Mr. Ring, you did ask what information we currently have, and the information that the council has at this time is that on or about June 19th, 2015, you purchased a home at 13103 Ginger Court in Manassas, and the house where you previously resided at 14920 Green Hill Crossing Drive is listed for sale, and that on or before July 1 of 2015, you and your family moves from the Green Hill Crossing Drive address in Haymarket to the new home on Ginger Court in Manassas.
Some of that information is absolutely incorrect, and I don't believe relevant. I actually own 3 homes, have for a while. So does ownership of a home define residency? Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Well, not unless we have any cross questions. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Ring, this was just an opportunity to hear from you for you to enlighten the council with this information. So is there anything else that you would like to?
Withholding my pay. That's a concern of mine. You have never defined what residency is. That's a concern of mine.
I understand.
You have information
Mr.
that
Ring,
isn't- no.
first, no, sir, I was speaking, I've got the chair.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm asking you, do you have anything else that you would like to present to the council regarding this information that's been presented to you, or in the letters? Is there anything additional that you would like for the council to know?
I would like there to be actually a dialogue, which there has not been. There has been a letter, which was incorrect, obviously, because it said I wasn't a resident, and now it's saying I may be a resident. David, you used Marchand as a go-between. You couldn't even talk to me during the meeting. You had to send him up with questions to ask me, and he had to go back and tell you. How juvenile is that? There has been no legitimate effort by the town council, which is the power of this town, the town council, not the mayor, has the ability to make decisions. The town council has not, at any time, entered into any kind of a dialogue or defined what it means by residency. I think those are important points.
Mr. Ring, we invited you this evening to have that dialogue, to allow you to present information as to why you believe you are still a resident of the town, and so we are giving you that opportunity. Do you have any information, any evidence to present to us why you believe you are still a resident of the town?
I've actually given that to you.
Can you please elaborate what that means? Because I don't understand
What
it.
does the town define as residency? We have here this word, residency. If we don't know what it means, how do we arrive whether I'm a resident or not?
Well, how do you define it?
How does the town define it is more important.
I'm sorry. Please just answer my question. We're trying to have a dialogue. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. So if you could answer the question, just trying to do our job here. That's all we're trying to do.
Then tell me what the definition of residency is.
I'd
I
like-
don't believe that, I'll tell you this, I don't believe that residency, and given, again, the example of Pam Sunford, I don't believe that residency has anything to do where you physically reside or, in the terms of the council, live.
Could you do me a favor?
Sure.
Could you just tell me, where do you lay your head at night when you go home? No, I mean, it's a fair question, please. I just, for my edification, because I'm trying to understand where the disconnect is here.
The disconnect is I need a definition of residency.
Well, again, I'm asking, can you please define what your definition is, so maybe we can come to some kind of an understanding what that means? And I'm having a hard time just trying to follow you here. Do you reside in the town, or do you not?
Yes, I do.
All right. Can you tell me where you reside?
Green Hill Crossing. You want to see my driver's license?
No, I can imagine that your driver's license would still show that number. I mean, you were living there last month, correct? Are you sleeping there now?
Does that make any difference to the definition of residency?
It
It
may.
does, actually. It may.
Not may. I don't want may. I don't want possibilities. What we're dealing here with is possibilities. If we can't have a dialogue, if we can't define what it is, residency should be easily definable. And it seems not to be. And it's not up to me to define it. It's up to the town to define it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Could we hear from the council how the state defines residency?
Well, yeah, I might be able to help a little bit here, just to tell you that residency is something that's dealt with in the law. So the council,
it is.
right, so, and
I don't doubt that for a
as
minute.
with other terms in the law, it is dealt with on a case-by-case basis based on the facts. So council's obligation under the law, under 15.22212, is just to ensure that all members of the Planning Commission and the ARB, by their ordinance, are qualified by the statute's requirements for that position. So looking at the way to make such a determination is to look at what the law says about residency, but it has to be made with knowledge of the facts. So I think that what the questions that are being directed to you are to ascertain the facts from you, because it matters what you say in order to make that determination. As with many things in the law, there's the law and the facts, and then you have to do the analysis. So and the analysis would be done in conjunction with the attorney providing legal advice. So that's not going to happen right here, but from you, the facts need to come to be able to apply the law.
My driver's license says Haymarket. I am registered to vote in Haymarket. I'm a property owner in Haymarket. I receive mail in Haymarket. I own 3 houses. Where do you want me to live?
The 3 homes you live are in Haymarket?
No.
Okay. How many homes in Haymarket do you own?
1.
1, okay.
And where do you intend on continuing to live?
Before we go there, when you're talking about the law, the statute that you quoted, 15, and I couldn't write it all down, that has to do with residency, that a member of the PC has to be a resident. And that's fine, and that's the law. What are the state statutes that you're using to determine residency?
Well,
Or are you, or if you're not using either state statutes or state code, or you're not using, or if you're not using case history, then you're arbitrarily determining residency, and I don't believe that to be fair.
Yeah. Mr.
So, how are you determining residency?
Go ahead, would you like to
Yes.
ask him?
Mr. Ing, the council is not the body who we're trying to ascertain information from at this time. And so we simply want to know, as a final question, where you sleep at night, and then we will continue on.
I have 3 houses. Depending on where I am, I sleep in all 3.
May I ask another question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's my understanding that the house is for sale in Haymarket. Do you own any other properties in Haymarket? Do you-
No, I don't.
Okay, so when the house is sold, will you still be a resident of Haymarket?
If the house is sold?
Yeah,
No,
or when
I
the
will not
house
be a
is
resident of Haymarket.
And, okay, thank you.
Are there any further, not questions, or any further information that you would like to provide to us, Mr. Ring?
I'd like to have a dialogue.
Oh,
I'd like to know how you're determining residency.
Right.
I'd like to know when I'm getting my paycheck.
Right.
Because, again, let's go back to the paycheck issue for a
Mr.
moment.
We're here about the residency,
If you're holding
Mr.
my
Ring.
paycheck due to residency.
Right, we understand
When I
that.
worked those hours, when I did that time, when I attended those meetings, that was entered into the timekeeping system. A check was supposed to be generated. Again, my name was called by a town employee. None of the chair people for those, David, look, hear me out, because it's all tied together.
I haven't said anything, Mr. Ring.
Yeah, but you're trying to.
I'm waiting for you to finish.
So, and again, even though Susan made a comment about my residency and Connor made a comment about my residency, again, the town council members that were in the room at that time made no comment, none. I was treated as a resident. I was treated as a person that had every right to be there. I was treated as a commissioner. I was treated as an ARB member. I dispatched my duties. I answered yes to the roll call. I made motions. I entered into the debate. I cast my votes. I did exactly what I'm supposed to do. And nobody, you, Joe, didn't, Pam Swinford didn't, you, David, didn't say a word. I was operating under the criteria that I am a resident. I did my duty. I should be paid for that duty. So it's not, it's more than just where do I lay my head at night? That's really irrelevant.
Okay.
The town is withholding my pay.
All right.
I would like to make, I don't think it's irrelevant where you sleep. Okay? I think the state code is pretty clear. Reside means lives. I don't think it has anything to do with where you own. I think the intent is that a resident is someone who lives permanently in a certain locality to be able to act on behalf of the citizens. I think we have had dialogue, and if it's determined that you live here legally, I'm sure you will get paid, and I'm fairly certain it's not a whole lot of money, because I get paid the same salary you do as a PC. So, to me, it's not really about the money, it's about principle. That's all I have to say.
All right.
And
Again,
that's- and if I may respond to his
Good.
comment, it is about principle. Because I've asked, I think, a couple of things that are very important to the town, to the town residents. One, I am a property owner, so therefore I still have an interest in the town, irrespective of anything else. Two, I'm sure that there's been quite a number of tax dollars expended on me. That's really outrageous. You guys really have nothing better to do? Where I lay my head, where I reside, you're quoting state code, but you're not telling me what state code you're using. Again, there's no real dialogue here. This is all completely one-sided. There has been no dialogue. There has been no discussion. That I consider to be also truly unfortunate and inappropriate for a town council. The first thing I got was a letter saying, you're no longer a member, or you're no longer a resident. Then I go to the meetings, I attend the meetings, I do my work, and there's nothing said. Nothing, absolutely. And when you're talking about code, I've asked what code in the town of Haymarket allows you to hold my paycheck. You won't answer me.
I think, Now I want to
You should
finish.
be acting
Okay,
according
Okay.
to the code.
I'm not going to
of the
get
town of
into an
Haymarket.
argument with you. All I'm simply saying, the mere fact you're here, the mere fact we're giving you a chance to speak, we just had a few questions.
Right.
So this,
And none of mine were answered.
Right.
None.
Okay. well,
That's not a dialogue.
There again,
No.
we were looking for the information. We want to thank you for coming for the council and for the facts that you presented to us. Obviously, we have an executive session tonight to refer to our legal counsel, but we want to thank you. Thank you again. So,
Thank you.
okay, thanks. Our next item on our agenda is our town manager's report. Mr. Henshaw, welcome back, sir. We missed you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to be back. Essentially, regarding town manager's report, I really don't have anything really to add to it. There's a couple of issues I think we're comfortable addressing other areas of the agenda. Really, the only thing I would like to say is I would like to thank the members of the council for allowing me the ability to attend the Senior Executive Institute at the Weldon Cooper Center for Public Service. It was truly an enlightening experience. It's not just about professional growth, it's also personal growth. And I really appreciate you all affording me that opportunity to go. We were fortunate enough to be able to offset a good bit of the costs through a scholarship that I was able to obtain, along with a donation from the alumni fund, so that seriously was able to make this a lot more affordable for us, especially a town our size. I am excited because I am going to be using the opportunity to send, hopefully, two of our other staff members. It will not be this year because I've found out at the Institute that they're already booked solid through the rest of this year, but it will be after the new year to send two of our staff members to LEAD, which is a 1-week program, but it's the same. It's a lot of the same context. The difference is we go into like implementing that second week, which is what the second week was about. So it was a very worthwhile experience, and I appreciate the opportunity to go. There is one thing I'd like to bring out from the manager's report, and that was with regard to the public safety capital appropriation. I laid a copy of that on at each seat. This is actually, you all mentioned this during your work session, I know, but I don't think the actual appropriation was put in. What this is $15,000 that is also part of the capital improvements, or capital outlay budget for the police department. This is for the radar speed indicator signs. They're a safety feature that would be located on the east and west end of Washington Street. And so one would be on the east. There would be two signs, one on the east, one on the west, both as you enter into the corridor, notifying vehicular traffic of their approaching speed in the town to try to slow that speed down to 25. So these would both be purchased and installed, and that's what we've appropriated for the budget for it. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I don't know if you want to take that up tonight or move forward, or we can just move it to next month.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't go ahead and move forward.
I think
with
it's a
this.
great idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus,
Thank you.
plus the signs have, I guess, data capture and information that can be used to analyze traffic patterns and things of that, and speeds and what have you.
I'd have to defer to our chief on the details. He's been kind of doing the spec. We've been kind of working with Holly. We still would have to go through the permitting process through VDOT. We've kind of gotten a verbal okay, but other than that, we're just, this is just the one thing that starts the process.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I have some questions for him, but you want to do this first?
Sure, why don't we, if you want to, we can go ahead and take care of this motion, I think.
Sure. I move to appropriate and authorize the expenditures of the above line items from the fiscal year 2016 budget, and that is for capital fund expenditure, public safety, police department capital outlay / machinery and equipment in the amount of $15,000.
Motion on the floor and been seconded. Discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
yes.
Aye.
Yes.
All right, great. questions from Mr. Henshaw?
You must have been reading my mind because that was my first one, was the sooner the better for the 15,000, so that's great, thank you. And thank you, Chief, for your work on that. The question about the search committee, when do you have an inkling? Of course, we'd like to see our interim chief stay a lot longer, but when do you think you might be coming back to the council? And I was wondering, in answering that, how many people do you think you'll be bringing to us to be vetted?
Well, the committee, the police chief search committee has been working diligently on this. It's a process, and interviews are actually taking place this week. We have about five candidates that we'll be interviewing that we think are all very viable candidates. The goal is to possibly whittle that down to 2, maybe 3 at the most candidates to bring back to council and do those interviews at the end of this month at the work session. That's the goal. Provided that a candidate proves himself worthy, which I feel very comfortable about saying this about all 5 candidates, although we haven't gone through the first interview process. We would hopefully look to possibly appoint at the beginning of September.
Okay, is there a period of transition that you think you might have to do?
We feel that because we're so close to Haymarket Day, we think there would probably be a transition period.
Excellent.
Plus, that would give, you would also probably want to build in some time for any kind of notification for any of the potential candidates that they're already serving in a different capacity somewhere else.
That's great. Thank you, Brian. That's excellent. I have a couple more, though. Sure. See, we missed you last week, so I want to kind of make up. And Chris isn't here tonight. Hi, Chris.
Yeah.
He's watching.
As far as the draft BZA MOU, who's going to be reviewing that before that goes out?
Well, I think we gave it to you all last month as a draft. Basically, we wanted you all to look through it, and then we discuss it and then send that out. We are going to start pushing a time clock because we need to get this to our General Assembly before they come to session. So, plus, we want to get this to the county as well. So, I'm hoping that by September we can take it up to say that we're ready to go. I don't think there's really any action other than basically directing us to send this on to the county representatives at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you for that answer. 2015 retreat. So I think the date we were talking about is August 27th. I'm not sure how firm that is. I think it's a great idea. It's probably overdue, perhaps. Yep. But one of the things that came out of the strategic action plan, and I think Councilman Cottle might have even raised the issue, was about putting some of the posters up, and I was just wondering where we stand with that.
Well, that's one of those things. I think originally when we thought about it, I think I had one thing in mind. I was thinking more stenciling, getting very art with it, but we need to get it up, and I know the importance on that. Part of it was also I'm going to lean on a little bit of the direction of the town center project a little bit, not knowing what that meant. We didn't really want to put a whole lot into it, but we will get these goals and also the core values up. I think originally what we had talked about, or what I envisioned, is basically a stenciling of the mission statement behind the council, and then you could possibly follow it up with another side over there, and then frame and put the goals up there. So we can come up with something, and that should be able to be done within the month. Now, finding someone who can do the stencil, I don't know about that yet, but we'll get there.
Okay. All right, great. No, I'm good. Thank you.
That's it? Okay. Nothing? Okay, great. Moving on, we've got our addition for our line item that we brought off of the consent agenda, the salary adjustment proposal. So,
Are we doing the spending policy, waiving the spending policy first?
oh, yes, we do have that. I apologize.
Mr. Mayor, would you just like me to address
Sure,
it?
no, absolutely. Go ahead.
Just to lighten the mood up a little bit, to quote that famous wordsmith, Britney Spears, "Oops, I did it again." That's a joke. really seriously. But this is no joking matter, and I know that.
I thought that was Rick Perry that said that.
Maybe so. I'm not sure. But I would like the opportunity to take you through the process and talk about some bigger overall issues that were addressed with this. I had been working with Genesis on this brush clearing project since the beginning of July. I met with Genesis and their landscaping subcontractor on the site to determine the scope of work at the beginning of July. At the time, our landscaper could not consider getting to the project until mid-July at the earliest. That was what we were informed. That's what he told. We all agreed that would be fine. We actually even ran into Councilman Cottle while we were out there. He was doing some yard work himself. Later, we informed our landscaper informed Genesis that he would not be able to do it. He just had too much on his plate. He had not be able to do it. So Genesis would have to seek another trusted subcontractor to perform the work. I found out about that towards the middle part of last week, or the week before I left. That was the week of before the 17th. It was the 15th or so. Basically, we'd been working on trying to get an estimate prior to me leaving for the SEI training on the 17th of July, and was unsuccessful at that time. But, however, I should state, at that time, I didn't anticipate the cost coming in above the $10,000 spending policy at that time either. It was on Tuesday, July 21st, I received a call from Mark Moshides of Genesis notifying me that they were ready to get going, but due to the scope of work being a lot larger and the need for some equipment that they would have to get, including dumpsters and some equipment, that pushed the project over the $10,000 mark. At this point, I was acting in what I felt was the council's best interest. I informed him to proceed, understanding that I would need to come back and explain my actions to council. Now, I think it's important for me to state that it's not my intent to deliberately go against any of the town's policies. This would not fall into the category of an emergency as described in the adopted policy, only needing to notify Mayor Lee. This would not be one of those cases. Secondly, had I halted the project that was set to begin and conclude last week, I would have had to stop the process, bring this to the Facilities Committee, and wait until the September meeting to get final approval from the council if we're following established policies. Ultimately, I felt it was more important to get the project done. I felt that this created less of a bureaucratic process. And in essence, I chose the option of getting the project accomplished that seemed to be very important to the council in general as a whole, opposed to adding to the general perception of bureaucracy at work. So some of this brought up some, that's essentially it. That's how we got to it. It's to getting that project done. I felt like it was important. It's an important project that many of the council members had made very well known. I didn't find out the cost until after we were ready to go. And at that point, I think we would end up costing us more in the long run. One of the things that I realize is this situation actually has, I think, brought up a larger issue. Essentially, currently, staff and I cannot move at the expedited speed that you will seem to be demonstrating that you'd like to move at. Otherwise, we need to stick to our current policies, but I would need you all to apply patience as we're moving forward to try to accomplish the projects of this nature and some of our goals in general. Neither is the wrong answer, but we need to address the issue together. It's in my professional opinion, I think we're going into an issue of values versus expectations, and that this issue does not need to necessarily be solved tonight by any means. I have already reached out, and watching the work session, I have already reached out to Genesis. We will be working together to create a better scope of work for any future projects, so we can better identify that. But it is also important to note that we are not necessarily equipped as a jurisdiction to function in the manners that we are asking of our third-party contractor. What I mean by that is Genesis and what they do are an important part of our evolution. I think at some point we're going to have a public works department or at least a public facilities department. We're not there yet, but we have to go through this process to get there, I think, in some aspect. We truly don't have a public facilities or public works department at our fingertips. Anytime we start and stop them on a project, there are expenditures that have to be taken into account, and there's also consequences involved. So ultimately, I stand by my decision, although I realized that there was other ways we could have handled it, and that given the same circumstances of me being away for an extended period of time and them being ready to move on the project with equipment on the ground ready to go, it would have been best to notify the mayor, but I didn't think about that option and the policies being away. And so, in general, I think it's important that we really do consider really re-engaging in a conversation to discuss our values and expectations, and that's what we should do. And I should have, and basically, we should have that conversation in the near future. But I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Brian?
Steve? Nope. Well, I have Chris's comments. I mean, you watched the work session.
Yes.
Okay, so you understand that there's some real concern, and frankly, the process itself, if we don't have a process or a policy that we follow, what good is it?
That's correct.
So I'm not really clear on why the action was taken without at least trying to notify others. But I think what we need to do is go back and look at the process and the policy and make it into a workable system that's going to be followed. There was a question at the last council meeting, well, you know, about the $12,000. I mean, and now we're asking for 15. So what's the right number? I'm a little confused. Is it 13?
I'm not exact. I can't really speak to why it was 15. If I had to, you hate to be put in a position to guess. I'm guessing that Jen felt it was best to just go ahead and cover any of the expenses that were
Potential overruns.
but there shouldn't be any overruns. We're going to walk the site tomorrow to make sure that we got everything that we'd already originally discussed. I have been to the site today and saw the work that was done. I think I've only noticed like maybe one or two things, and they already said that they will take care of that. So as far as I'm concerned, it can be just for the amount of the invoice.
Okay. One of the things is that when we first took over as a council, I believe we raised this limit to try to avoid these types of things from happening. So is this the right, I guess the question is this the right limit or not, in your opinion? And I would be interested in hearing a little bit more about that as we go through the process. Because one of the things that Chris was saying was that he thought we should lower the amount. But I'm not sure how that works or not. So,
I think in general, everything that we've had experience leading up to that time, I think policy was set for what it really was. But as we're getting into bigger projects, as the town center reconstruction, and which will be bid out, that's going to be bid out. There will be a competitive bid process, as well as the Hanover property when we go to be built or actually construct. Hanover could actually be a little bit of a different scenario because there could be smaller projects within the greater plan, if that makes sense. And so you could have some projects that are smaller in nature. I'm okay with the policy as it states, but I don't know if there's one magic number where like this will cover everything. As far as the competitive bid process.
well, the whole idea was to accelerate the work.
Right.
And that's why we raised it.
Right.
I mean, I think one of the things that I was a little concerned about, and if you heard the work session, was that the scope of work I felt was kind of wanting, for lack of a better word. And it really wasn't as detailed as it could be, essentially what the estimated hours of work are and the numbers for each line item. And frankly, you know, even though there already are on-call, they should still be bidding, and we need to have room to negotiate with these guys. I mean, we shouldn't just accept the number that they give us.
But that's the issue. Is the previous council actually did go through a bid process with Genesis, where there was an agreed upon rate, and until they go over that rate, that's really the contract that we're operating on. Now, with that being said, the way we've set it up is anything that would be a special project. So, for example, the town center project, any of the renovation, that's obviously going to be pushed way past it. That's a separate project that wouldn't be covered in the scope of work that they've agreed to. However, the work that we were doing, brush clearing and that kind of stuff, falls under the roof of the landscaping side of their contract. And so that's the reason why we felt like they've gone through a competitive bid process. So unless they go against those rates they agreed to in their contract, they're not violating the contract. And we've sent things through a competitive bid process. We used to go through this process very often where the issue you run into is you've contracted a company that went through a competitive bid process to be your public works and provide this service for you, and then we get to a certain amount, well, they're always going to be under bid because another company is going to be looking for the business and for the work. There's nothing wrong with that, but the thing is, in fairness to them, if they went through a competitive bid process, if it's something that falls within their scope, I just feel like we should be utilizing them because they've made no bones about what their rates are going to be. With regard to the scope of work, we do need to work on that. That's typically how we have worked together in the past. We like to try to keep things fairly, probably a little bit more informal than they need to be. That will be rectified. We will come up with a more of a detailed scope. Essentially what we've done before in the past, we've worked and met with them and discussed what needs to be done, and then they basically then come back with an estimate, and that's where I know how to go. That was the same process we were following here. The issue is they ran into the fact that their subcontractor couldn't provide the work. Their subcontractor is our landscaping company that does all of our mowing through Genesis. They're contracted by Genesis to do that work. He couldn't provide the services this time around, and because he couldn't provide the services this time around, they had to go to another subcontractor. I hadn't received the estimate until the July 21st. At that point, they had gotten the same feeling that I had, was we wanted to get this done. We wanted to move on it, and I think it has made a difference. It's just a set of unfortunate circumstances and everything, and I'll take the blame on it. It wasn't one of those things that I tried to negate our policies by any means, but I felt like if I stop it at this point, we've started them into the process and the motion of trying to get this done. Now I've got to pull them back. We'd have to come back to the Facilities Committee, run it through Facilities Committee, and we wouldn't be voting on it until September. And by the time we get there, we've had all this time that we're still waiting on, just trying to get some brush clear. Okay. So it was a calculated error on my part, but it wasn't done with any kind of unjust reason.
Go ahead.
No, I wouldn't even have suggested that, Brian. I really appreciate your answers, and I look forward to us updating the process and the bid documents. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Vice Mayor?
I guess what I'm hearing here is that I want to make clear that I don't think we're complaining about their bid structure and their rate structure. What we're more concerned about is how they bid, how many hours to do a particular job with a very small statement of work that doesn't have a lot of detail in it that we can justify and say, yeah, that does look like 10 hours of work or 5 hours or whatever. The rate structure is fixed. We understand that. But we just want to make sure that the number of hours it takes to accomplish something makes sense, and we need definitely more information, or you need more information in order to at least consider that in the future.
When we were working with them, visit the site, they knew that it was going to be multiple days. So I think that what they really did was they basically put in the calculation of how much they were going to need with regard to how many dumpsters were going to be needed to haul any debris away, what was the equipment that was going to be needed, and everything. And so I think they were basically trying to go with more of like a flat kind of rate. That's something we can work with them on, and they're familiar with. I was actually speaking to one of the principals this morning about this exact same issue, and I kind of asked them, because they do a lot of work for school systems. And, I asked them, I was like, well, what's your scope of work look for the school system? The difference is when they come to the school system, they already know what they want done and how they want it done, and all it is a matter of saying, okay, this is how much it's going to run. The issue we have is we don't have anyone on staff with that technical expertise to put that together. The people we have to rely on to put that scope together is Genesis. And so I think what happens is, and I wouldn't place blame completely on them. I think what happens is we've gotten to know each other and work together, and so they kind of know what I'm trying to get at, and they know what they need to do, and so that's how you're getting these generalized scopes. But we will rectify this issue.
Councilman Connell, then Woods.
Well, first of all, I think it looks far better than it did. They had 6 men, 5, and then a foreman who ran the Bobcat. They showed up typically at about 7:45, and they stayed till almost 5 o'clock. I know because I watched most of the work.
So we had a foreman on site as well.
Yeah,
That's good.
but I'm not billing you. So I do think, though, that when you think about the process, as we do bigger and bigger projects, we're kind of moving from small town, although we are a small town, to kind of a bigger thing. I think there needs to be a more formal process on the potential.
Can you ask him to go outside? Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
I think there needs to be a more formal process to where it's more clearly delineated. I think line item, I can't speak for the whole county. I think most of us understand cost overruns. But I do think whether it's 20,000, 10,000, 15, I think the numbers are irrelevant. I think for your protection and just for the safety of all, because I really think we're looking at it to help you as well, so you're not put in a bad spot. I think any time we know there's going to be a cost overrun ahead of time, there needs to be some triggers that are set in motion to where you're not just making the whole decision, to where we're making the decision. Does that make sense?
Well, I think in essence of what my position is to help you all get to that decision, but
Right.
you have the right parameters. What I would say to that same point is this is all part of the evolution.
Right.
I think we're going to go through these little setbacks before this triggers one thing to say, you know what, we need more details, go. Oh, so now we go to work on that. And then unfortunately, probably something else will come down the pike that we didn't think about. But when you get to the bigger projects, to me, it's managed a little bit different. To be honest with you, we have a lot of that would be handled by project management. But all of that, you're going through a completely new competitive bid process.
Right.
So you lay a lot of this out. But I would agree with what you're saying. I just would say that really, in general, where we need to get to is the point where I can basically, you don't have to worry about that because the process is established, and that's where we need to go to. We're just not there yet. It's still an evolution.
Right. I mean, we do rely on you. You know, we're not professionals. You know, we on a limited basis. But I do think we're responsible to the citizens for the oversight.
Yep.
If something goes wrong, we're the ones that are going to answer for it, not you. So you answer to us, we answer to the people. So really the citizens are the ones that should be in charge because we're spending their money. So I just think more formal process, line item, and if we know ahead of time of a cost overrun, we need to let the mayor or the designated person know. And I think we all understand what we're trying to do. And I'll end with this. That cleanup of that property is about 10 years overdue. And there's still a lot more that needs to be done. And I will stop there. Thank you.
Councilman Woods.
Mr. Henshaw, I just want you to know that I don't think any of us are trying to point fingers. We are just trying to work through these bumps and smooth things out so that we can have a well-run, well-oiled government here. We don't want that bureaucratic, red tape, long, drawn-out process, although sometimes, because of the simple fact that we are a government, it has to happen. And as Matt was saying, he stole one of my points, that we do have a responsibility to our citizens to make sure that the finances are managed well. You mentioned that you believed the council was really gung-ho on this and wanted to get it done, and that's part of your reasoning for going ahead with the project despite the overruns or the higher costs than the policy would state. But I think that at some point the council would say, oh, it's going to be that much. We didn't know that. We didn't expect that. So maybe we could cut out this and this, or maybe we could take a longer process, or maybe we could put a post on Facebook and have a big volunteer party, clear out the bushes, something like that, where we could cut down on those costs. I think it's just one of those things where, and there were circumstances that caused some of those things not to be able to be explored, you being out of town. But I think in those sorts of circumstances where we're expecting this, and you feel like we're really, let's get this done, but would we still feel that way if we knew the full scope, which is, I think, why it would have been important to at least to have given a call to the mayor, just to say, hey, it looks like this, and maybe he'd say, yeah, we really want to get this done, let's go. I don't know how maybe we could codify that in the policy, something maybe to look at. But yeah, just really taking a look at, none of us are mind readers. We can't communicate exactly what we want to you. You can't communicate exactly what we want to Genesis. There's a lot of give and take here. And so I think there does need to be a little bit extra dialogue than there would have to be in a normal business circumstance. And I think that's all.
Okay. I think we've had all the opportunities, so we have a draft motion here that on page 64.
I move to approve $15,000 from the FY 2016 adopted budget line item CIP Harover Property Construction. It is further moved to authorize the expenditure of $12,925 to Genesis Contracting and Consulting for the landscaping brush cleanup as presented by Genesis dated July 22nd, 2015, by suspending the adopted spending policy POL number 20140707 and waiving the requirement of a formal bid process.
I will second it.
Motion's been seconded. Further discussion? We've had that. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
All right. Okay, our next item would be item G, our salary adjustment proposal. We brought that off our consent agenda, I think.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Councilman Passanelli, yes.
I asked for this to be pulled. I intend to hopefully go forward and vote yes on this, but I wanted to give Brian an opportunity since he wasn't at our work session. We made some changes to the table, the CASA table. Let me see what page that's on.
Is that 26?
Page 20.
Is that the one, or is it the actual?
Actually, make it 5C3, table 5C3. And I just wanted to give you I'm hoping to give you the opportunity, if you had any comments you wanted to make about that or any input before we take our vote.
It's back at page 30.
Thanks. Thank you, Councilman Passanelli. I appreciate the opportunity. Members of council. Just want to make a few comments about this. I believe that you all firmly vetted out this process, and I believe that you've come up with a good product that addresses competitive salaries for the staff. It is my understanding that there was some concern brought up at the work session with regard to the police department's administrative assistant. I wanted to actually echo the same sentiment I believe that our interim chief explained. I'm currently working with our interim chief, and we will work with together to come up with a recommendation. We're actually already have some ideas in mind. We'll present that to the personnel committee to finalize our recommendation. I also would like to take the opportunity to remind you that I also need to work with part of the salary proposal, the original salary proposal. I stated in there that I'd want to be working with both our town planner and town engineer who serve the town in a part-time role, but in a very invaluable manner, and we will be putting a recommended course of action to provide some form of compensation for these positions as well. Furthermore, I understand there was also a concern with regard to the 5% higher footnote for supervisor positions. I just want to take an opportunity, just if I can, to clarify. This was established to include all supervisory positions, not just the town manager The footnote pertained to the chief of police and the town manager position. However, I believe it is accurate to point out that Councilman Sanello was correct in mentioning that the percentage could be any number in general. Furthermore, additionally, Councilman Woods was also correct in saying that you all have the power to change this. This is your all's proposal, so there's no argument with that. In general, this condition was created for several reasons, one of which was based upon the organizational chart that the council adopted when it adopted the strategic action plan in December of 2014. Furthermore, it was also established, but not represented as such, for future growth of the organization as a whole. In thinking about your submitted change, each situation can be addressed at the time of the issue. However, I would recommend the council to accept that these positions, salaries, and any movement other than appointed officials would actually be handled administratively going forward, and only budget amendments would essentially be coming back to the council for decision. I think what's most important about this entire process that we've gone through is I challenge each of you all to take into account what is actually being accomplished with the salary adjustment. Not only are you compensating staff in a more competitive manner within the region, you are also establishing for the first time a salary scale. You've updated every single job description and made the town's professionalism a priority for the future of the town. This process does not stop here. We will follow this process up with an analysis of our overall benefits package, as well as create a performance review process. This is only the beginning, but you are equipping staff with renewed confidence in your beliefs and their abilities to carry out your goals that represent the residents of Haymarket, and for that, I commend you. I'll be happy to answer any other additional questions that you all may have about the salary stuff.
Other questions? I'll entertain a motion for this item.
I make a motion that we adopt the salary adjustment proposal August 2015 as stated in the package here, with it being retroactive to July 1st, 2015.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? Roll call vote, please. Oh, sir. No, absolutely.
Mr. Manager, how soon do you think you can get us the police chief secretary, if you will? How soon do you think you can get that data to us? Because to me, if we're going to adopt this, which I'm totally in favor of, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't bring her up relatively quickly. I would think it's not really fair. I don't really like using that word per se, but it's really not. I mean, we need to have some concrete plan to move her forward as well, or that position.
I personally believe if you move forward with the adoption tonight, from that point on, it would really be more of an administrative, and I would actually recommend you allow us to report back. I don't want to really talk in terms of definite ways to address this. I think the easiest way that we're looking at this is creating basically like an admin 2, which comes with an inherent more responsibility. That allows us some growth throughout the position, because we, in general, we believe that the position itself has a lot of the same qualities. It's just the level of responsibilities in our police admin position is a little bit greater at this time. And so rather than doing something that's specifically for that position, we think it'd be best to actually just structure it into the whole entire salary scale and position. So we can get those figures, but we also could probably take care of that administratively. And the reason I said that is I'm also got to come back to you all anyway for any kind of adjustment. Technically speaking, even adopting this doesn't create the adjustment. I still have to come back to you all for the adjustment. So I'd like to try to fix it. So we'll actually be taking care of it in that adjustment.
So my question is, at which time we adjust that position, it will also become retroactive back to July 1, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
We would actually just create the difference. It'd be like the promotion.
I just want to be clear, we need to take care of all of our town's employees, not 95% of them.
I would agree.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
All right. Great. One other item that I might not have mentioned in the very beginning is our draft resolution for the VRE. I know that this just recently came out. if we'd like, we could look at this line item right now, or we could, everybody want to take a moment to read it through it? Everybody had a chance to look through that.
Shall we start on the left this time?
Yeah. Yes. Why don't we do that?
I have no comments. It looks good. I support the study to investigate whether VRE would be something good for the town, for the citizens.
Okay. Mr. Cottle?
I agree with my esteemed colleague over there.
Mr. Passanello?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I've read it, and I find it was well-written.
I think your comment was a home run for Ms. Cohen.
Actually, yeah, the first pitch, home run.
Vice Mayor?
I'm glad to see that this does not support the actual bringing VRE here, just supports the study and to save our comments on it after we review the study.
Absolutely. So would you like to make that as form as a motion? Put you on the spot there, sir. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution,
2015-001. 11, sorry.
11?
11, correct, yeah. 2 zeros, 2 ones.
Make a motion to adopt Resolution 2015-0011, resolution of the Town of Haymarket Town Council supporting the conducting of a study by Virginia Railway Express of extension of rail service to the Gainesville Haymarket area.
Great. We have a motion on the floor?
I will definitely second that.
Okay, there we go, second. And for discussion, any? All right, roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Wonderful, great. We have a post-session item, if could have our attorney bring us into closed session.
I move the council convene in closed session to discuss or consider, as permitted by Virginia Code 2.2, 3711, paragraph A7, the provision of legal advice by counsel retained by the town to provide legal advice concerning legal analysis with respect to Virginia Code 15.2, 2212, entitled Qualifications, Appointment, Removal, Terms, and Compensation of Members of Local Planning Commission, as permitted by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, permitting such discussion in closed session.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, yeah, no problem. Brian will. You ready? Okay, I'd like to call this meeting back to order. If I could have our certification ready.
I move that the council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion.
So moved.
Good.
Second.
Second discussion. Roll call for it.
Councilman Woods?
Aye.
Councilman Cottle?
Yes.
Councilman Passanello?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Aiken?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. All right, great. All right, the following information has been presented to council, that on or about June 19th, we've got a lot of reverb here, Mr. Ring purchased a home at 13103 Ginger Court in Manassas, Virginia. That the house where Mr. Ring previously resided at 14920 Green Hill Crossing Drive in the town of Haymarket is listed for sale. That on July 1st, Mr. Ring and his family moved from the Green Hill Crossing Drive address in Haymarket to their new home on Ginger Court in Manassas, and that the Ring's furnishings have been moved from the Haymarket address, and that when asked whether he would be a resident of the town of Haymarket after the sale of the house at Green Hill Crossing Drive, Mr. Ring indicated that he would not, and that the facts presented to the council, therefore, have led the council to conclude that Mr. Ring is no longer a resident of the town, and that, therefore, the requirements of Section 15.2-2212 of the Code of Virginia, that a member of the Planning Commission be a resident of the town, and of the Town Code Section 58-556, that a member of the Architectural Review Board be a resident of the town, have not been satisfied, and therefore, I hereby declare that Mr. Ring's seat on the Planning Commission and his seat on the ARB both were vacant as of the last meeting of the ARB and the Planning Commission on June 15th and 16th respectively, and that the town is not authorized to issue town funds for attendance by someone other than a qualified member of such board or commission. And that's the rule. Our next item is our council member time, and we're going to go to Kurt Woods.
I have nothing to add at this time.
Okay. And to Councilman Cottle.
I'm good.
Vice Mayor Aiken.
I have nothing to add.
Okay, that means it's me and you tonight, Joe. So,
Okay, I
Joe
do have a
Preston.
couple things. I apologize for holding my colleagues hostage here, but Brian, if we could, I was contacted by a former council member whose name escapes me, but he was hoping we could get together and talk about quiet zones again and do an update on that. One of the things that we had talked about, or actually the previous council had talked about, was the election cycle. And I'm wondering if maybe we need to resurrect that and think about discussing maybe a change on that. I know there were meetings here that were attended by the VML folks, but I'm just wondering if we want to bring that back up and have a conversation with council about the terms and the date when the elections will be. So I don't want to belabor it. I have a bunch of other stuff. I'll get with Brian. One thing I do want to say is that September's fast approaching, and I've submitted a request to do another proclamation in September, and so I look forward for your support for Blood Cancer Awareness Month and raising awareness about that in lymphoma. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
okay. two things that I had. Of course, tomorrow night is Neighborhood Watch. We encourage everybody to come out. It's between 5 and 9 tomorrow evening. And just to dovetail on about the cancer awareness, I'd like to see possibly, and I'll work with Brian, that perhaps we can, there's towns and localities basically light up the town red for the month of September. So I'll be working with Brian to possibly come up with some creative ideas. I'm not sure if we can go with lamp covers or something like that, but at least maybe eliminate the museum in red, and maybe with the sandwich board, making it very visible of why is our town museum red at night, but try to make that awareness for out there. So other than that, any closing remarks? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay.
Second?
All right, motion been second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you all. Thank you very much.